Today we're looking at what may be the first fantasy mod for Universalis 5. The mod is quite bare bones at the moment. This is our only play area, not a lot of nations, but we do have 3 races located in this area to start with. We have, of course, humans, as you can see here. Then we have rat men, as you can see here, or rat folk as they're called. Then we have the undead. Each of these factions has a different modifier, as I've just shown. The one for the undead reduces pop food consumption by 100% in provinces where they're dominant, or locations even, and stops population growth, and provides 100% disease resistance. Whereas the rat men, for example, they can consume a lot of food, but they have very high population growth, at 0.5 just by default in populations where they're dominant. Humans are the least interesting of the 3, just increasing local pop promotion speed where they're dominant. You can have locations that have more than one of a group of pops. For example, we can see here in this location, humans are dominant, which leads to the pop growth promotion speed, but rat men folk are substantial, which leads to local food consumption increase of just 20 and population growth of 0.3. Undead also have another mechanic. Our characters are functionally immortal. They have no fertility, or minus 2000, -2 for our diplomatic reputation, but they are immortal. As you can see here, our starting ruler, playing as the Undead Imperium in the south, is 272 years old, and it's entirely possible that he'll survive to the end date. I saw it in a playthrough I did in my own time. There is a character up here, this Valerius the Dragon Slayer, who starts 1336 years old, which means he was born in the year 1 in this game's timeline, which is pretty fun to think about. Maybe I should be playing him, right? But as I said, not many of these nations have much content. The undead do, in the form of us having some unique levies and units. If we look at the legionary Skeletari here, you can see that their morale stays very high. In fights with the undead, usually you kind of kill them all before they retreat because their morale's so high. The downsides for the undead is we have very low movement speed, which makes it hard for our armies to actually catch things. And on top of that, we have very low initiative, which makes it very hard for us to actually bring our armies into fights. In the playthrough I played before this video, I actually played as the rat men here in the north. And the population growth these guys have is kind of crazy because eventually the world was divided up into me in the north as the rat men and the undead in the south, controlling basically what they control now plus some more land. The undead had 80,000 levies. Wow, that's quite a lot, right? But I, as the rat men, had 300,000 because of how fast my population grew. I just completely drowned the undead in a tide of rats, which is pretty fun. So today we're going to try and correct the record and do the opposite while playing as the undead. The undead do start as the strongest nation in the game, but as I said, due to low population growth, due to us being undead, and the fact that the only way for us to really get more undead will be to assimilate living pops into us, we're going to be outscaled by the living pretty quickly unless we can bring them down. I'm sure it won't be too difficult, but we'll see how it goes. At the start of the game, this nation actually here has the most pops of a single pop group, that being their Venturian population is the highest amount in the world at 1.8 million. So they're arguably the strongest human nation, but we also have the Scarlet Order up here. They have a few vassals and are of reasonable strength. If the rat men are able to unify, they'll also be a major threat. But as I said, we'll see how it goes. First of all, what are we going to do with our country? Let's set some rivals. There's only 3 that we can set, so we'll just set all of them. We're probably not going to have any allies in this run because we are undead. It wouldn't feel thematic to have allies, and this -2 to our diplomatic reputation also makes it harder. One thing is, we're not really going to have children, so we're kind of stuck with our ruler, which means we're stuck with his rather okay, good-ish stats. The only way we can increase them would be using the court, the parliamentary issue, to increase stats. Now that they've actually patched this in 1.10, or 1.010, we can no longer rely on fiefdoms to increase our ruler's stats, so we'll just have to make do. We could marry somebody, I guess. There's this woman here who's 271 years old. We'll marry her. No reason not to. We're not going to have children. I guess we could have children through a random event or so, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, right? When it comes to our religion, we have unique religions for both us and the northern folk. Unfortunately, they don't have any mechanics currently, we follow the Imperial Creed, which is an ancient undead religion, whereas they follow this eternalist truth. Well, as I said, it doesn't have any unique mechanics here, but we do have some unique advancements for the religions. We also have some unique advancements for our nation, that being the undead. This Eternal Empire here is quite great for the speed of integration, but we can also gain access to research investing in culture in the First Age, the Age of Traditions, by going down for the Imperial Seductresses. Increasing the power of our culture is actually pretty good, because by increasing our prestige, we increase our own cultural influence, which leads to us assimilating pops faster. And considering that's our main way that we're going to increase our population, that's probably what we're going to go for first. So we'll probably grab this, then we'll grab guilds, and then finally we'll grab Eternal Empire, and then we'll probably jump over to the Age of Renaissance. Some of the institutions in this mod are quite buggy, like meritocracy never spawns because it spawns outside, it's supposed to spawn outside the starting zone. Last time I played, I don't think banking spawned either, which was a little annoying, but it you know, it's not the end of the world. We'll see what happens this time. For our reform, we've already started with autocracy, or autocracy as it's known. What's something else we could grab? We don't really have many options. It might be worth holding on to our reform and wait for a better one to come along. Since I don't really plan to use vassals, the feudal nobility is not that great. The estate satisfaction for the nobility is quite nice, but it's not a big deal. Serfdom's always good, but food production isn't that good because we're not really going to be eating food. In fact, food's going to be kind of a bottleneck. I guess we'll be selling most of it to humans that live in our lands, which sounds silly. But we do have some humans. Do we? No, we don't. So who's buying the food? I guess maybe they buy the food that if it can be made in something else. Like, yes, this wheat brewery, they probably buy the food and turn it into ale. But I'm not sure there's any demand for ale within our country. But I suppose it's a need. Either way. So yeah, I think I'm going to hang on to this reform and not spend it here. When we get into the next age in around 7 years, we'll be able to grab some new reforms. So we'll leave this empty. Like Byzantium, we also start with these corruption reforms that make it so we essentially get no tax from the estates, which means that's our first order of business. We'll be bringing them to check. We do start with this unique parliament, though, that increases our crown power as well as increasing the cost of court and allowing the clergy and the burghers into parliament. We also have access to this new societal value, which gives us a choice between xenophilia and xenophobia. Xenophilia does increase the pop conversion speed to our religion, which is quite nice, but the army morale speed isn't really going to be that valuable for us because of how our morale works. The cleric estate satisfaction is nice, of course. Xenophobia, on the other hand, also gives cleric satisfaction equilibrium, but it also gives monthly research progress and efficiency of our cabinet. So I think we'll push for xenophobia, which doesn't really sound like the sort of thing we should be saying, but we're going to say it anyway. For our cabinet positions, we're going to focus on strengthening the government and stabilizing the country, first of all. Do we actually have any pops that aren't of our culture? We have a few pops that are of brother cultures. They're also undead, so I'm not really worried about converting them to our culture, but we do have a few living in our lands. Not many, just a 1%. So I think what we'll do is we'll just start trying to assimilate pops into our culture. Over here, this duchy of Syrium, I don't know. I don't even know how real countries are supposed to be pronounced, let alone fancy ones. These ones are quite interesting because they're actually part of our culture group, but they're the living in our culture group. So they actually worship our religion, but these are the living humans in our culture group. I guess the remnants of our people who have not been turned into undead. We might be able to vassalize these guys, and they'll probably be the only vassal we actually bother making in the game. Yeah, they're quite close to accepting vassalization. We'll offer them an alliance first of all, and then we'll increase our friendliness with them to get them to accept vassalization. So now we're going to unpause and just see how things go. We get an event. I didn't even know we have events. Endurance is not the same as immortality. Should we fail to gather our strength, our scattered strength to restore order and unity, which was consecrated at our second founding, then Morias may slip into the quiet oblivion which has once claimed us. The first is a grief remembrance, and now the second will be a mockery repeated. The hour is late, but all is not lost. Ooh, another event. We can choose to just increase satisfaction with one of the estates. I wonder if this has an effect leading on. While Moras is a city of the dead, it's not a dead city. Dawn will find avenues already thumbing with activity. Merchants of warm flesh haggling beside silent clerks. Well, this is the historical option, is to visit the marketplace, but let's instead visit the crowded alley. I'm not sure if this will have an effect, but I suppose we'll see. So a disaster just triggered, which accidentally clicked away immediately. The Moran civil war decreases our crown power by 20%, our state satisfaction by 50%, gives us a monthly legitimacy of 0.25 and increases rebel growth by 1%. This is very similar to the event for Byzantium, though it doesn't have anything in its window here. This will go away on its own, or if we increase our stability to 75, that will also get rid of it. And getting stability all the way up to 75 is quite a big ask, so we'll see how it goes. For now, we're going to try and get we've got our legitimacy maxed, but we still have quite a few costs. We're going to bring down our diplomatic spending. After all, no one likes us, so we don't really need to spend on money on diplomacy, right? We're also going to stop spending money on our navy and forts and army, because we're unlikely to be attacked, and we're going to max stability spending and just hope for the best. Another thing that's neat is because undead are undead, they're not going to die, so when we appoint people to our cabinet or to lead our armies, they're going to basically remain in the position unless a random event fires them or kills them. Which means we actually have to think a little carefully, because I might appoint one of these people and just forget that I've put them in the position, right? And then they'll just be there forever. So I'll try and remember that I've appointed people. I wonder, would it be possible for us to vassalize the undead over here that are across the sea, led by this dragon slaying guy? I suppose we'll see. We've got our first parliament, and I kind of wanted to enact a law change. I want to enact a certain religious law for education. I'm trying to remember which of these estate privileges triggers it. My mind is just failing me right now. I think it might be Religious Advisory Council, so we're going to hand that one out. If it's not, I'll look like an utter fool, but maybe that's for the best. It's not that one. Let's hand out another one then. I mean, these are all good privileges, so it doesn't matter that much. I think it's Religious Administration, actually. That would make sense. Let's do that one then. Yes, that was the one. So we're now going to switch to one of these hidden laws that you might not be aware of. We're going to switch to devoted education from our religious teachings. Devoted education is pretty much the same as religious teachings, except it gives a bigger increase for cleric estate satisfaction, and also gives us less of a push to spiritualism, but as well as a push to traditionalism. You might say, why would I want to push less to spiritualism? Because I don't really want our spiritualism to be too high, because I'd rather actually push for humanism so that we can convert cultures faster, as opposed to converting religions, because converting religions kind of isn't as important to us, because it doesn't really give us as much as getting the extra pop would. Okay, I very suddenly went bankrupt. I don't think I was losing that much money, but I guess that's how it is. I'm sure we'll survive. Let the money flow back in. That's going to set us back a bit, but it's not the end of the world. That's the problem with letting the game run too fast. Things can get away from you. We've managed to make it to the Renaissance. We'll probably be going for the administrative focus. We may actually experience a large rebellion by the nobility in a second. We're actually going to have one of our cabinet ministers crack down on the nobles and see if we can't prevent their revolt. Probably not, but it's worth the attempt, right? We can call in our friends over here, luckily. It looks like the rats managed to destroy the other undead ruler that was up here. Oh well, surely we don't need them. We can appoint a general. We don't actually have many good generals or any real generals at all. We've got this very low stat guy, but he'll probably do. We easily outnumber the nobles, so this shouldn't be a big issue. Nobles have decided to surrender because we were just winning so good. That's that solved, I guess. We're probably not going to get to the 75% stability to end the Civil War, but we're already at 5 years in, so it surely won't be that long. Renaissance is triggered, so what are we going to do? Well, we're not really going to have any vassals. One, I guess. So instead of going down for the vassalized section of the tree, well, actually, maybe we should just go down for this extra proximity now, but we don't really need it. Well, instead, we're going to go down to religious war, and then we're just going to start religious warring all over the place and conquer everyone. Sounds like the smart thing to do. We also have a unique reform over here, or advance even, which will give us an extra 10% for our infantry power. So it might be smart to grab that as well. Since we are in a new era, we have new reforms. What's a good one for us to grab? Royal Decree's nice for the extra crown power, plus the satisfaction decay. Also the centralization. We are going to go deep in centralization since there's not much else for us to do because we don't have many vassals, so we're just going to do that immediately. We're also going to start pushing our values towards centralization. I rarely go max centralization just because I prefer having lots of vassals. So this might be a first for me. These guys up here are willing to become our vassal, and they'll probably be our only vassal, so that's nice. We're going to need to increase our diplomatic spending, though, because having 0 makes them a little disloyal. We can also ask them to improve the living's opinion of us dead. And that's nice. They are our brothers, after all, living ones. Looks like we've managed to survive the civil war. We gain this static modifier named AO1 Weathered the Storm, which gives us a decrease to the cost of increasing stability, and a power protection +5 for 30 years. Our economy will immediately bounce back because our states are actually going to start paying a little more tax. One thing we want to do is get our legitimacy up so we can revoke those negative tax modifiers. It's going to be very expensive to increase our legitimacy there, so we're going to need to be a little careful or I'll go bankrupt again. Because look at this, maxing our legitimacy spending is 50 ducats. That's a lot. Let's be a little cautious. Ooh, the Empire strikes back. With the end of the Civil War, we gained this new modifier which increases siege ability and decreases war cost. If we control 200 provinces within 50 years, this modifier will become permanent. Wow. How many provinces do we currently control? What is the God Hand? Is it just this whole area? It looks like it. Yeah. How many provinces or locations even do we currently... Well, it says 200 provinces. Surely it doesn't mean... Surely there aren't even 200 provinces, right? Doesn't look like there's 200. It must mean locations. Is there any way I can see how many locations we control? That's a good question, because it would give me a number to aim for. Ah, yeah, here we can see we control 99 locations currently. So we need to control 101, I'm going to guess, over the next 50 years, so by the 14th century. I wonder if that includes vassals. I suppose we'll find out. We're probably going to integrate these guys the moment we can, though, so that shouldn't affect us negatively. Our legitimacy is close to max, so we're going to start revoking these reforms. All right, we've got our religious casus belli unlocked. Time for us to start thinking about devouring the mortal lands. We'll start researching down to the military side of the tree, aiming to get the newer levies, infantry power, and all the other stuff. So these adventure people have really expanded. We still have double their manpower though, but it's something to be aware of. They've also vassalized quite a lot of the land. I'm sure we can take them. They're only human after all. They actually have a coalition against them. I wonder if it'd be worth... No, we're not going to join in. We're going to do things our way. We don't work with the living. Got our casus belli. Should we just jump them immediately? They don't have any allies. They just have their 2 vassals. Wait a minute. Oh, they re-released these guys as a vassal. The Republic of Legio first. For a second, I thought they vassalized the Dragon Slayer that was up there, but no. He's gone. I don't know where he's gone. He could be anywhere. I wonder if we can find him, actually. If we go to people and look for characters and we search, do we have an option to search like just in the world and outside of our own country? Doesn't look like we have the option to search in the world, unfortunately. So we don't know where the Dragon Slayer's got to. Either way, we're going to declare war. I'm sure we can win. They're still at war with the rat men in the north, so we should be able to take advantage of that. Bring all of our armies together. We're going to slow things down because the game's world's a little so small that the game runs very fast. It's hard for me to keep up. To immediately cross the border and start taking land. We're not going to be too greedy. I'm thinking for this war we just take something like this. Although maybe we should just be really greedy and try and take literally everything. What could go wrong? This is actually going to be a close battle because we lost. They beat us back. You didn't think it was possible, but our large undead army is so unwieldy that they can actually win if they break our front lines fast enough. It shouldn't be too bad though. We'll just retreat very slowly and we'll turn around and head back very slowly. There, we managed to beat them that time. We're actually going to split our army in 2 and try and siege down as much as possible, as fast as possible. Alright, we're going to peace out. We're going to take this as our land. Send the levies back home. Reassign the generals because we don't need them for a little bit. Now we're going to immediately start integrating this land because the main thing that's going to slow us down is having lots of uncored land that's rebellious. It would be smarter to release it as vassals, but because, as we mentioned, we want to complete the mission for whole 200 provinces, and I'm not feeling good about it because we're only at 113, and we're 38 years from the end date. Maybe the time has just come to just start no CBing everyone. There is a massive rat union up here with basically nearly all the rat countries in one nation. Not sure we want to go to war with them, but we could. We're currently integrating our vassal as well, which will help out. We managed to have a baby. Oh god, from a random event, we've gained an illegitimate child. See, this is something I was wondering about, whether these random events could lead to things like this happening. Oh well, he's never gonna, or is it a she? She's never going to inherit because we're never going to die. She's an undead baby, though, which is pretty neat, I guess. Right, we're trying to go to war with the massive rat alliance. We're going to no-CB it because we're running out of time, I think. Time to just bite the bullet. Surely we don't need stability if we conquer the world. Raise everybody. Here's a question. If they're in a union, can we piece them? Oh, we can piece them out individually. Yeah, I thought we might be able to do that. So we might just annex the whole rat kingdoms in one fell swoop. Antagonism is just a number after all, and there's only a few countries that exist anymore. So even if they do form a coalition, it's not that big of a deal. Might actually just be a chance for us to annex everybody by getting them all into one big coalition. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But we're going to try it. We can physically get to the other rat countries. We need to get access through one of these guys. Unfortunately, the rats have a much larger navy than us. So it's not like we can just ferry our army across. Let's embrace the Renaissance. And then we'll start grabbing the Renaissance modifiers. Extra government reforms, extra cabinet seat. Reducing the cost of the court would be great for us because it's so expensive. We don't really need this extra life expectancy and disease resistance, so we can probably ignore that. Taken a few years, but we've been able to buy military rights through this nation so we can actually get to the rat people. We also gained another reform. What should we choose? I quite like Privy Council for the 5% tax efficiency, but we don't really need tax efficiency that much. Money's not really an issue for us. Is there anything that could help us core faster or take land cheaper? We could go for local army organizations to give us more peasant levies. That might be worth it just because it'll help us conquer everything. I can never remember, I can't even say, I can't pronounce this word. Efficiency, increase coring speed. I don't think it does, so we're not going to bother. Might actually be best to go for garrison increase, so that the forts we have are never going to get sieged down. I think instead though we're going to go for of noble bearing, just because it sounds cool. Increases the max education of the clergy, and we want our of the nobles, and we want our nobles to be able to think. And we're going to very slowly move our army across. We need to make sure our morale recovers before we do anything crazy though. We're actually now going to split our army in two, and we're going to send one to this rat location. And we'll send the other up to the main rat kingdom. Our aim is to fully annex these lands, even though it's kind of silly to do because they'll be cut off, but we don't mind. Let's piece out the first rat kingdom with a full annexation. We could also do the old humiliation trick for some extra prestige, but we're not going to. Rat kingdom number 1 eliminated. Funnily enough, our armies can starve. At least, well, not our undead ones, but we have a few human soldiers with us in the form of levies who can starve. I wonder if starvation then affects pops that can't starve. I'm curious. For example, we have all these pops that can't starve, but once we reach no food, do they start to starve? Ah, we've just called our vassal, that's nice. How many locations are we at now? 134 locations, that's not 200. Looks like starvation does affect our undead pop. Good to know, I guess, but not necessarily good. Alright, let's fully annex the main rat kingdom. Who is left to oppose us? These guys up here. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to fully annex these guys up here. They're just too large. I guess we'll take everything with a fort and leave them with that little extra land. They've started to form a coalition against us. That's kind of what we were looking for. As long as we're strong enough to defeat the coalition, then it's fine, right? There, we've managed to clean up all the rat kingdoms. We now control lots of land across the north. Not in a very nice way, though. First, immediately, I think we're going to declare war on Ventura. Mainly because they haven't joined the coalition against us. So if we declare war straight away, we'll be able to fight them without the coalition being involved. I did create a casus belli while we were at war, in case we managed to, but we did, so let's do it. Raise those levies that we just de-raised. We do need to keep an eye on rebellions, though. It would definitely be bad if one triggered when we least expected or wanted it to happen. We actually lost a battle there against the living. They managed to beat us back. One of the things of note is Venture's vassals, well, Venture's lands are actually controlled by a lot of vassals. So if we can decrease their loyalty, much like when fighting the French, we can just annex them outright. How many are we at now? We're at 167 provinces. Surely we can do it. What should we look to take from these guys? Well, they still have their vassal over here. It's only a one province or one location minor, I suppose we call them nowadays. Let's start preparing for our next war by starting to increase our spy networks on these other guys. If we can't get a casus belli, I think we'll just attack them either way with a no CB war. We're actually going to start tolerating the living cultures that we have inside our land. It doesn't necessarily feel appropriate, but it's what we're going to do to stave off rebellion and other untasteful things. So we're going to peace out. We've taken a lot of the world now. What is our number? 183. We're close. Maybe we should dig in a little, not go too crazy. I know it's hard, but dig in a little, try and absorb the land we've actually taken, not just immediately attack someone else like a madman. There's only actually like 4 factions left in the world, not including us. They are forming a coalition against us, but honestly, that's kind of fine. If we could fight the whole world in one war, it also means we can devour, or annex would be a more nice way to say it. All right, time for a new CB war on the rest of the world. This war is basically going to involve everyone, I think, except for the Venture, who we just pieced out. Yeah, we've got everybody in, except for Venture and its vassal. Let's see if we can't bring the entire world, or as much of it as possible, under our control. We're going to split our army in 2, send one to fight the Scarlet Order. They've got a lot of forts. It's not going to be pleasant fighting through their lands. The other army will send to occupy the weaker nations in the east here. We've done it. 23 years until it happened, but we've completed the triumph, the God Hand. After long centuries of humiliation, our ancient shame is finally extinguished. The black mark upon our legacy, that being the loss of our sacred homeland, has been washed away in a glorious victory. God Hand, queen of all provinces in the empire that was, and cradle of Moran greatness, returns to our possession. With our glory restored, the great white mountains will serve once more as our shield, securing our northern flank, and affirming that all the world must now remember, the empire lives again. In Moras, preparations now begin for a triumph unmatched in living or undead living memory. For 7 nights, the streets shall thunder with processions, legions marching in gleaming ranks, war trophies paraded through the under and over cities. Chanting citizens will shower the victors with flowers, both fresh and embalmed. The emperor, crowned in laurels like of old, shall ride at the head of it all, acclaimed by all past and present senators, the undead practice and the cheering masses. A week of feasts, games, and spectacle await, seeing the victory that not only in history but in the hearts of this eternal people, reunited at last. So we gained this static modifier name AO1, the mandate, permanently for doing this. Reunite at last, plus 15 prestige. Better than the usual modifiers we get in the main game, I guess. Then we're going to leave things here. There's not really one left to oppose us, it's just a matter of cleaning up the remaining living. There's only a few of them as well, so it wouldn't be that interesting to watch. Go check this mod out if you haven't already. It being so small like this actually makes the game rather fast and kind of fun because of how small it is. I had to play on speed 4 most of the time just because it was too fast on speed 5 for me to catch up. I am interested in seeing this mod expand, and it's nice to see mods existing in general. So I said go check it out if you're interested. Let me know what you think of it. How do you think the different races should be depicted? If they decide to have rat men have a trait like the undead do, like the undead have this undead modifier, what would be the rat men modifier? Would it be a big boost to fertility, and then maybe a life expectancy decrease to represent the fact that they breed fast and die young? Rat men already have access to the polygamy marriage law, so it's very easy for them to pump out lots of children via many marriages. It might be a little over the top if they had fertility on top of that, because then there'd be literally hundreds of children. But anyway, let me know what you think. Should humans have a modifier? What modifier would you give to a human? Just like defaultness. Anyway, this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.